Welcome, beautiful souls, to the Infinite Cup Podcast. Today we have John, the Mangotarian. Really, really cool guy. Man, I've never met such a like-minded individual on the path, fellow iridologist, and just awakened soul. Seriously, I want to bring people on the show that are, leaders in this new paradigm, this new, vision of health, wellness. Our infinite potential is right within us. All right. People, I'm really excited because the podcast is doing great. I just want to give a quick shout out to all my Patreon members. Thank you for the people who have been buying my book, The Real Yoga, which is available on Amazon. And all my, just people that are being here, people that are listening, people that are subscribed to the YouTube channel, the people that are following me on Instagram. I mean, seriously, just thank you. I mean, I started this from nothing, and I'm just happy and genuinely excited to be here and provide content to you. So without any further ado, here is John and I having just an amazing conversation. Hope you enjoy.
We got to use the internet too, because, this is the age of information. This is the age of Aquarius. So we have to network. This is how we're going to bring, awakening into our programmed spirit. I mean, we're walking AI programs, and
Yes.
and we have to clean out the, the waste.
Yeah, no,
So-
100%. No, I love that. So we can just start right there. I mean, just to give you a little background about how I created the Infinite Cup and everything. I'm like you, kind of, been in this community, and it's one of those things where I want just interview people that are kind of leading this new paradigm of health. I think people are desperate for, just change, right? I think the awareness is spread now about the pharmaceutical companies and, this just toxic lifestyle that everyone's kind of leading, and just people want options, and we don't, you don't have to get into labels or anything like that. I just think, obviously fruit and vegetables are the way to go. And people, for me, with the farming background, everything, it's just like I can't simplify that enough, And someone like yourself who, being the Mangotarian and being obviously so focused on fruit, I know you're into Robert Morris. I want to get into that and your experiences, because I think just having this sort of inspiration, right, and these stories. So let's just start right there, what you mentioned, that just awakening. I'm curious for you, like, what was that just first initial spark of awakening? Was it, the first time you had a mango, or was it this, meditation or this quest? Just, how did it happen?
So pretty much I just felt really uncomfortable in my skin, in my surroundings. I was very codependent. And so, I just kind of settled for my environment and my friends and the girls and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. And I knew that there was this urge in me to do something special with communication. I knew I had a voice and I had passion. And I knew that there was a lot of, excuse my language, but fuckery going on in the system.
Oh, yeah.
And my intuition was telling me something's wrong. And I always felt like, having the day job and climbing up the corporate ladder, it always just created this anxiety in me. And I never really felt connected to that system. And so being with the wife and being with the friends that were really deep into that wanted to succeed in that modality, I felt really alienated. And so what happened with me was because of that karma of not listening to that inner voice and that intuition, and we'll get into intuition later because that is my religion.
Yes.
And so my intuition was telling me that you got to make big changes, and I kept ignoring those signs. And so I believe because of that, I had to suppress with drugs and alcohol. I had to suppress with other things that were numbing that voice.
Yes.
Because, I was creating obstructions. When you create obstructions, you're unable to get those downloads from the universe to where you're connected to your instincts and intuition, right?
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
And so my health crashed. And because my health crashed, I was in a desperate place. And I was looking and searching for how do I get out of this hell that I'm dealing with. Obviously, I knew that I created a problem with drug abuse and alcohol abuse and yo-yo dieting. I knew about raw foods. I knew about plant-based nutrition from watching the documentaries for many years. But because I was linked to those toxic relationships, I was never really able to be free to actually apply it. Because I wanted to please people, because they couldn't handle my intensity. They couldn't handle my passion.
Yeah.
And so, I remember just like, what am I here to do? Like, I know I'm here to do something special. And it just, my determination to survive to get to overcome these health elements that I was dealing with. And I told myself, I refuse to die. I refuse to die. I will find answers. And before I even knew about manifestation and law of attraction, I just kept saying, I will.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
It was like, I'm just built for that mentality. Like, I refuse to die, refuse to surrender. And so I found answers. That's where Robert Morse came to the picture after searching just, hours and hours of trying to find answers. What's going on in my physical body? Obviously, we have all the confusion. It's autoimmune. It's the body's attacking itself. It has nothing to do with your diet. It's just a bunch of confusion. And I knew that didn't make sense. My spirit was telling me, no, obviously I'm not aligned with what's natural. I'm not living a healthy life. So, I got to make changes. And so I was forced to make changes through a lot of pain I was dealing with. I suffered with, if we were going to put labels on it, it was chronic prostatitis, interstitial cystitis, degeneration in the L4, the lower spine. My kidneys were shutting down, and I wasn't aware of it at the time. And then I just remember, through manifestation, I will find a way. Robert Morse pops up on the screen. And he started talking about the lymphatic system. He started talking about two sides of chemistry, and how that chemistry, creates a specific response. And it just made sense. Okay, acids are corrosive. They strip, they tear, they damage cells. Yes. And you have a sewer system, and it all made sense. I'm like, well, I keep getting my blood checked. They keep checking my urine. They can't find anything. Well, this is why, because they're not looking at the lymphatic system. And this guy's talking about this. And he's saying that when you get the acids out of your body, the pain will go away. And I'm like, well, I'm dealing with pain. So, it made sense. And then when he started talking about fruit and how we're, humans are frugivores, that we're physiologically, designed for fruit. And if you get in harmony with your natural diet, then it's going to bring the body back into homeostasis, and the body's going to clean the lymphatic system. So that right there was like, okay, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
And with my intense, my astrological programming, my intense fire, my astrology, I said, I'm going to do this thing. And so I just started chipping away. And at my diet, I started doing like the mucusless diet healing system approach, where I just got rid of the processed food. So first I went from the keto diet, because I was playing around with that, trying to see if I could fix myself. So I had to wing off that, and I had to adapt back to carbohydrates again. So I just went junk food vegan, just to keep my sanity, right? Because I had all these addictions. And so I did that for a couple months, and then my body couldn't tolerate that either, because I wasn't getting rid of the pain out of my body, because those foods are acid forming too. And so so all I really could tolerate cooked wise was sweet potatoes. So I just pretty much, I was a sweet potato tarian at the time.
Yeah.
So I had green juice all day, and I had sweet potatoes in the evening. And so, that got me further, and that took some pain out of me, and I was able to kind of get through those humps of dealing with my issues, but it wasn't getting deep enough. And so then I got rid of the sweet potatoes. I added in the fruit, and I did the Robert Morse protocol, and I took it serious. And I wasn't afraid. I was like, I'm going to die anyways, right?
Exactly. What do you got to lose, right? Yeah.
What do I have to lose eating fruit? I mean, raw living foods that are ripening on the vine. I mean, it makes sense. It's appealing to the eyes. It smells good. It tastes good. I mean, I've never met anybody, regardless of their diet, that doesn't look at fruit when I'm at the grocery store and go, oh, wow, you got those mangoes. Those look really good. Everybody loves fruit.
Exactly.
So I told myself, this shouldn't be too hard. I can enjoy fruit. It's summer and spring right now. Let's take advantage of this, and let's get my kidneys to filter, and let's clean this sewer system out. Yeah. And I started doing that. When I got kidney filtration and the pain started going away, that's when I was sold. Yeah. That's when I knew that this Robert Morse guy is saying something.
Totally. The body awareness. See, that's for me, the intelligence of the body. It's like, once that's awakened, you can't go back, and it's people are walking around disconnected with our own, human temple, this whole thing, it's like just walking around with this head, severed. So yeah. I love that story, man, because it's just so organic in the sense of how it happened. A couple of things I really want to touch on. I love just one word kind of answers, like we're practicing discernment. One of my favorite words, right? Between that voice, that's coming from parasites or whatever versus the intuition, right? That's the one thing I want to hone in on here right now, because to me, that's like the most powerful tool, right? Fruit's amazing, all that stuff amazing. That's what I would call like the physical part, the metaphysical part of the intuition being your guide instead of this other voice is priceless. So
Yeah.
the fact that you tapped into that organically to me is just, inspiring. So that's really what, again, why I created the Infinite Cup, because I want to talk about more spiritual things in this, fruit health community, right? Because
Yes.
I think I know a lot of really healthy people, even in the Robert Morris community, fruitarians, all that stuff. I love everyone. I'm just saying we're not talking about that part enough, right? The karmic impact, the spiritual impact, the higher self, the dimensions, anything that resonates with you. We don't have to get too crazy. I'm just saying the fact that, like I said, you did this organically is just awesome, because most people, I feel like, are simply just listening to that other voice, that small self, call it the ego, call it the mind, call it whatever you want. I'm just saying that's really the source of all this unhappiness, in my opinion, rather than just taking the time to meditate, relax, and, listen to that intuition. What is your intuition telling you in that moment? Because to me, as you were talking there, that's like the source of this, power, this confidence that you're getting to, do these protocols. Because it's not easy, just, going through the fate, or even this detox you're doing right now. A lot of people are just basically sweeping their problems under the rug, and someone like yourself is not doing that, you see. And that's what, in yoga, we just call it the satsang, people that are, embracing that. They're embracing these challenges in their life, because obviously you're getting stronger and your consciousness is just upgrading, man. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it really is. And that's one of the main reasons why I remain on this lifestyle. For one, my body can't tolerate those other foods anymore. Once you adapt to raw living foods, you can't really go back if you really clean out your body.
It's pretty much impossible.
Yeah, I mean you can, but you're not going to feel good. And so I'm not obsessed with fasting. I have a real balanced approach. I don't do the long-term juice fast, the long-term water fast. Really, I do this for my spiritual upgrade, so that I could be in tune with what I need to hear, and how I could put things into perspective and channel that frequency to keep me balanced, because we so often are removed from our spirituality because of everything that's going on in our environment. If we're in Babylon, well, then we're going to get these negative frequencies, and we have to clean them out of us. And so that's really why I do these like little 4 to 6 day lemon juice fast or whatever.
I agree.
And because of the chemtrails, I have, my instincts tell me that you want to remove these metals and stuff from the atmosphere that are coming into you.
The environmental pollutants are real, and that's what I'm saying. In 2019, that's something we can even see. I'm thinking about 5G and Wi-Fi. There's invisible warfare happening to us. That we've, as a human race, haven't experienced before. So that's, to me, where the fruit and these, detox protocols are even more important than ever. It's not just like what our, even our parents are above kind of had to deal with. This is something that's happening that, whether you're even aware of it or not, it's affecting your DNA and your human vessel almost every second of the day, unless you have this kind of preventative maintenance approach. Like that's what I call what you're doing right there. I love that as well. It's like when you're in tune with your body like that, what like these you don't need to do the 35-day or whatever. You just do this thing to make, to maintain that homeostasis, to where you have that clarity, and you need to do what you're doing. To me, I look at it like, well, all these are just kind of protocols that are tools on our tool belt, and like, which one do you need? Or you've just got some, stagnant lymph in your lungs and you're coughing some stuff up, and you hit the sauna more, or maybe you got things going on and you just need to move more and get on the rebounder. It's just like, we always need to address, for me, to be honest, I'm lacking in the sleep component, and that's where I think my environment is really affecting me. But I think I can have my diet on point and take herbs and do everything I do, but that sleep component, man, I'm just like constantly working on getting the most quality sleep, not like sleeping 12 hours, but just getting that restfulness that I need,
Right. And the thing is with sleep is the adrenal glands, right? Yeah. That's what, if you're producing too much cortisol from stress, you're going to be anxious, right?
Yes.
So you want to make sure that you keep those adrenals working properly so that you can get proper sleep. And also you want to work on the pineal gland that helps your body to actually produce the melatonin that helps you to get that REM sleep, so that your body properly detoxifies.
Yes, I love it. I love it because it's, we relate together in that it's like that holistic approach, because to me, it's not a one recipe. A lot of, I'm sure you see it in your coaching sessions too. It's just, there is no one tea or one recipe or green juice that's going to cure it all. It's, to me, this is more of a lifestyle and more of something you kind of tap into. And like I said, it's just which tool do you need at that time to help, address that situation. So I'm just curious what I just want to hear more about just the Robert Morse and the iridology in particular. I feel like for me, you're a guy that's in tune with it and you practice it. And for me, when I practice and I do iridology sessions with people, it's something that I have to do almost a lot of convincing, So let's just talk about iridology a little bit and just the power of it. Because for me, I would say, like, I'm sure if you've been through the rabbit hole as well with health in general, it's like if I were to spend any time, if I were to tell somebody just any time to study one thing to have clarity on the human body, it would be iridology. Go. I'm just going to start with
Yeah. I mean, the iris is very important because so I'll go back to what got me into iridology.
Yes, please do.
So obviously Robert Morse, everything that he was saying was convincing me about health and detox and regeneration of the body. And so he started talking about iridology, and I was really confused about what iridology is. But it made sense to me. Everything else that he said was working for me.
Yeah.
So that obviously broke down that wall and allowed me to actually investigate into it. So I went to other iridologists. I sent them my eyes, and one iridologist I remember, she was circling like lacunas on my iris.
Yeah.
And she was pointing, this is your adrenal glands, this is your pancreas, this is your thyroid and parathyroid, your pituitary, and all these things. And I was like, oh, that looks pretty interesting. Let me get my chart out. So, I had a chart from a Bernard Jensen book that I got, and it came with a chart. So I looked at the chart and I looked at what she was doing. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So now I have kind of a basic fundamental understanding of what they're doing with iridology.
Yeah.
And so for me, I just started experimenting on people, because people knew me in the community of answering questions in these, detoxification groups, and they knew I had knowledge. So they would inbox me and go, oh, do you know iridology? I want to get my eyes read. And I said, I was like, okay, send me your eyes. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Again, that confidence of I'm just going to play with this universe, let the universe just do its thing. And so, because I'm understanding the basics of this thing. And so, I put together a little basic iridology report in the beginning, and I sent it to them, and they were just blown away.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you know I have pancreatic issues? How did you know that I have drug deposit, or that I did iodine? Like, what's that? Like, how do you know that I did antibiotics from the sulfur you're seeing in my iris? How do you know that I have malabsorption? Whatever the issue was. I have a prolapsed bladder. How did you call that? These little things. And I was like, wow, like, this is amazing. This is a true science, because people are connecting to it and they're finding that it's working, that it's pointing out their weaknesses.
Exactly.
And so it just kind of grew. And I just kept watching Robert Morse's videos on how he was explaining the iris and, what to look for. And I didn't really study a whole lot of books. It just came to me naturally. Because I understood the lymphatic system connection. I understood, the symptomology to the endocrine glands and the organs, and just the approach on what to look for, and then how to go about fixing these weaknesses that we see in the eyes. And so it just turned into a full-time thing for me. People were sending me, they were like, hey, I want to send you a donation. And I was just like, okay, fine, let's do it. And at the time, I was trying to heal from my own issues. So I was like, I don't want to go back to my slave job and slave around for corporations. So maybe I could provide for myself doing this. And so I was trying to see what people were donating to me, and they were just donating to me a certain number. And then I kind of just went in the middle, and I was like, I might as well just make this a job.
Yeah.
And just help people understand what's going on within their body through the lens of the iris. And pretty much that's just how it convinced me. It convinced me by just experimenting with people through curiosity, and how people were overwhelmed by how I was able to point out these weaknesses that I saw in the eyes. So that's pretty much how I became an iridologist with that. And then I just kept getting better, and I kept, understanding more issues, and just, going through Robert Morse's school and how he breaks down iridology, and, with understanding lymph stagnation in certain areas of the body. And Yeah, I don't know. It's just pretty much people's experiences and their overwhelming responses convinced me that this works. I mean, obviously we don't really understand how the
Yeah.
iris shows all these weaknesses in the body, but we know that it does.
Oh yeah.
And that's like a supernatural spiritual thing. And in all reality, even medical doctors, as far as I know, used it in the beginning
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
So it was a
It's
French medical doctor.
Yeah, it's interesting what happened. Yeah, I think with I guess you can just say the Industrial Revolution in general kind of created, a huge shift. And one of any holistic approach, I think, or natural approach definitely just got under the table as soon as the corporate, world took over. So that makes sense to me, and that's just so cool that you tapped into that, man, because I think a lot of people are just still just have no clue about iridology whatsoever. So, and it's just awesome that you've tapped into it, and I'm right there with you. That's my story as well, very similar. And for me, also studying with other people, with bringing in like a more holistic approach with like the emotions and the spiritual, like with the sulfur, for example, and the orange being like confusion in the body, right? Something just as a psyche, like because again, for me, I've addressed so many things just on the surface, and then when I really go deep into meditation, I can trace back to where like my anxiety came from and certain things, and it wasn't me, like, well, I didn't create this, and as you know, with iridology, like things can even be passed on from our ancestors or generations, and it's also what motivates me thinking about my future generations. My fiance, we're about to have our first child, and like I'm just excited knowing that the work that I'm doing affects that child and then 7 generations down the road. It's just like that's what motivates me to eat more fruit and just to have a clean, healthy, happy life. So it's more of an empowering thing for me, iridology, not even in this like like medical scientific thing, even though it is very much that. For me, it's just this whole like shift, because honestly now, like even walking around at the farmer's market or something, when I see people's eyes, like it's impossible not to have more compassion for them when I see these drug deposits and see these,
I'm going to move this, bro. Sorry to interrupt you.
But yeah, you're fine. Take it. Yeah.
I'm outside, and I just realized my phone's probably going to shut off from the heat if I don't move it.
Oh yeah. If you're in the direct sun, definitely it will get too hot. Careful. Yeah. I did yesterday. I was out too long. I had to get in the shade. So yeah, no, it's just fun. Like I said, I can't talk so much. I can talk to you all day about iridology in general. So I just knew that you are already tapped in. So I just want to present that in a way and just really use it as a tool for transformation. Really, I think that at the end of the day, that's what we're all after.
I mean, if we could help people understand, so what I've heard a lot with my clients is that they've gone to the doctors to try to find out their problems. Mm-hmm. And the doctor, for one, wasn't able to break down why they were having that problem. And so when I find it in the iris and they're like, well, yeah, I'm having all those symptoms that you're pointing out, then it's quite obvious that this is a great tool to help people to understand what's going on. So they have the confidence to have a plan of action on how to fix the issue, because iridology isn't going to fix anybody. But it's gonna help people understand what they've created in their body so that they could fix those weaknesses.
Exactly.
And you know what I mean? So it's good to have, and it's good to watch the iris. Some iridologists, unfortunately, say the iris doesn't change, which is crazy.
That is
because I've watched my iris color change drastically.
Man, I wish I would have taken pictures when I was like 10, 12 years old, man. Seriously, I wish I would have started taking pictures way, because of all the changes that I got into. I don't know if I can give you the exact date, but it's just keeping track of all this. The changes are profound. So yeah, it's one of those things where even the non-physical, for me, I know we can talk about this more too, because I think to me the fruit is obvious and the nutrition is obvious. Obviously the herbs are designed, nature has a plan. There's like no man that can ever recreate that. So for me, I think another missing component that we can talk about is just that intuition, and then specifically like meditation or affirmations, right? Like changing your consciousness and changing the way you feel, just with the power of your words, the power of your environment. Like, let's just talk about things that are not fruit, basically, that you've done that have changed your life, changed your eyes, see what I mean? Change you as a person. Because yeah, fruit might have, for me, it was definitely, it's a part of the tool. But like, I'm thinking about affirmations or just grounding, something like simple techniques, that are missing in people's lives right now that, they're listening, that could benefit just from a simple practice. Like for me, it's grounding. Like that's, if I were to start somewhere, 5 minutes of just taking off your shoes, going outside is going to release some of that negativity with those positive ions that were just charged up in our body all day from the EMF and this toxic world we live in. 5 minutes of grounding is going to just, honestly, it's going to change your nervous system. It's going to change how you feel, So I just want to bring that up because, again, this is a holistic approach. That's why I created like the Infinite Cup. I could easily, name my channel like Raw Vegan Rob or something like that, but I really I believe in this holistic approach.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I wish my name was the Naturetarian rather than the Mangotarian. But there was a purpose for that brought me into the Naturetarian mindset. So yeah, it was like kind of like what you were saying earlier with DNA and how DNA communicates, right? Yes. Well, DNA can't communicate in the body, send those signals that need to go where they need to go to keep us into homeostasis if we're not grounded to the earth, because there's electromagnetic energy from the earth that comes through the nervous system, and activates our endocrine system and keeps things in circadian rhythm. Well, when we're out of that balance, then obviously we're not going to get that communication. Like for example, the hypothalamus sends signals to your adrenal glands that activate neurotransmitters that help you to have fight or flight, that help you to have energy, that help you with everything. And so if we're out of balance in our environment and we're not getting like the full spectrum lighting into our eyes, then how are we going to send signals to our body that's going to activate that homeostasis to keep us functioning in a healthy way? And so that's why it's much more than just what you put in your body. You have to recognize the importance of your environment. Yeah. And we're all transitioning. None of us are really doing that, but we have to make a transition and try to manifest getting more in harmony with nature and understanding that there's a purpose for the earth and how we're supposed to connect to her. And we're so disconnected to her. So I don't really have any scientific, information on, the ins and outs of it. But what I do know is that every animal is connected to the earth and they're in harmony with their natural diet. They're grounded to the earth. They're out in the sunshine. But humans are doing the opposite. We're building buildings. We're creating, this artificial, radiation that's coming off, the EMFs and all that. And so, and then the chemtrails is also a huge thing because that's blocking the sun. So we're not getting that proper lighting into our body that we need. And so when we're out of balance with that, and we start to migrate into territories we're not designed for, then that's going to play a huge part within our physical, spiritual, emotional bodies.
Yes, 100%. You hit some key words there. For me, I've learned, I love humanity. I never blame humanity. If I were to blame something, I'd blame environment. That's exactly what you're talking about. And I don't want to get my conspiracy guy triggered here, but if I were to say, something like the powers that we're talking about right now, other human beings know about, and they're using those said powers against us to keep us out of that alignment, right? To keep us out of that circadian rhythm. Unfortunately, all these technologies that we're talking about are someone is profiting off them, even though you can get them for free in nature. You know what I'm saying? People are using that against us. So I don't want to get negative. I just want to, talk about that because we have to work extra hard in this age to do these things, just to have a normal life. And I want to say that because that's what me.
The negative needs to be discussed though, because if we don't understand the reality of what's taking place, then it's never going to urge us instinctually to make the changes.
Exactly. And I just want to bring it up because that's what drove me to these pure, like Alaska and Hawaii and these, places to travel, to have, real water, air. Like I'm telling you, when I breathe the air in Alaska, for example, it's like no joke. I'm a different person because I was looking actually this morning on the National Lung Association, the studies where I'm here in Southern California. It's disheartening, and it's really just crazy that just this it's been normalized, and for me, I had to drive 1,500 miles to experience something just to have a something to compare it to, right? And that's where, now that I have that comparison, and I've been going up there since 2011, I'm just saying, it's like I can't go back, right? See, like that health, that vitality is what I think all human beings deserve. It's kind of like our natural state, because that's how the environment should be. But the problem is our environment isn't like that anymore. My favorite word that we already said is Babylon. We've created this Babylon that's not in tune, that's not conducive to our optimal performance, and we're not thriving anymore. We're just surviving. So if you just take that person and pluck them out and put them in a tropical paradise like Hawaii, or a pristine, Arctic clean environment where you can actually just breathe and enjoy regular life, then life just changes automatically, like instantly, So that's one thing I want to bring up, because I think you obviously tapped into that, and I think that's probably a big reason why you choose to be in Hawaii. You know what I mean?
And I will say that fruit is what really was a huge factor with.
Yeah.
Because fruit is brain and nerve fuel.
Yeah.
So my brain was so clogged up when I tapped into that high electromagnetic energy of the fruit,
yes.
which is like 12,000 angstrom energies, in angstrom units of energy. And then everything else is like 9,000 and below. So that energy helped my brain to tap into these frequencies. Because,
yes.
and for one, when you get, diet does play a huge part, because if you're in tune with your natural diet, then you're going to be in harmony with your spiritual body as well, because everything's connected. Everything is connected if you're in balance to where you're supposed to be on this earth. Yep. and what you're supposed to be putting in your body. So when I ate the fruit, that's when I started to wake up to where I could look around and go, wow, like I've created this Truman Show, and the reality took place where it was like, I've got myself linked into these relationships, and I've adopted these certain behavior patterns because it's what everybody's doing, right? It's the status quo. And when I started to see everything for what it's worth, like we're just playing this silly game that's been programmed into us, this false sense of security of the American dream. And that's when I was able to be empowered to actually make the steps to actually pull the trigger.
Yes.
So I believe the fruit was kind of like my kryptonite.
Yeah, of course. I mean, nature's nature, I think it's like just a karmic thing for me, the way I understand it with my kind of yoga brain. But it's like, we can't expect that health and that optimal brain function from McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to happen. So it's, I think a lot of people just have a lot of high expectations and then they're just not putting in the right fuel. It's just not going to happen. So that's the physical part. I also want to talk about with the fruit is the energy from the sun. Like, that's something that is just that's our power source, right? So it's like, to me, the sun is, the fruit is the vessel, the medium to get that sun. And, obviously our skin should be exposed for vitamin D, and like, we're not living that kind of lifestyle anymore that is just in tune with nature holistically. The circadian rhythm that we're talking about here is so important for me with my sleep kind of research that I've been going down the road with, as far as the darkness, just talking about that, right? We need 12 hours of darkness to really complete that melatonin cycle. That's just your brain naturally producing it itself, right? And here in LA, like, that's a struggle, man. Like, it is a real struggle without, for me, looking like a complete weird guy with glasses and covering myself. You know what I mean? It's like, are you going to do all that, or are you just going to be somewhere? Like, I know I love Hawaii for that reason. It's like there is no nightlife. You know what I mean? People are in bed, they're in tune with nature, they're waking up.
And you naturally want to go to sleep early in Hawaii. I go to bed at like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
7 o'clock. Yeah,
that's what I mean. It's like, are you just going to be in the right environment, or are you just going to do all this extra work? I feel like, here it's like, okay, we're going to biohack and do all this stuff and like put all this extra. I'm already exhausted thinking about it, rather than just being in a natural place where you're just living life, walking on the beach or going for a hike. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a very simple thing that I think humans want, that the mind just complicates it,
Well, yeah, because we've gotten ourselves so embedded into these priorities, right? And paying the bills and the mortgage and the job and, the kids in the corrupt school system. It's overwhelming. So I could completely understand why people that don't transition and make those steps to chip that stuff away are wanting to suppress themselves and just kind of go, it's just too overwhelming. I just don't want to do anything. But sometimes it takes making the diet change. Sometimes it takes making a trip out to the tropics to experience the harmony with nature, to feel to to be connected in that powerful way, to where when you come back to this exhausting, energy of just the grind, go, and never slow down, and just get in touch with yourself and turn off the mind, be an observer for a minute, and just not focus on the past and the future, and allow, yourself to just get this information. You can't get the information when the mind's always chattering.
No,
so
you hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head when you said experience. For me, I think we share this in common. It's just we're experiential learners. Like, that's where it really solidifies. That's where we assimilate the information, from the experience. And I love reading books, and I love getting into all the stuff. The literature is wonderful, but for me, it doesn't really sink in until I experience it. And that's where, for me, I would love, my future goal is to have a retreat center in Hawaii and other places too, where I can actually offer that, because that's what it was for me. I lived in a temple on the Big Island in Pahoa, and I loved it, man. That was the first time in my life. It was in 2011, and I was just walking out there every day in the gardens and picking the greens and making green juice and having the avocados straight from the tree. Like, just, it blew my mind. And that that lifestyle, like that expansion, you see what I mean? Like, you can't go back to this little thing that you were doing before. So that vessel, like, I was so expanded from the minerals, so from the land, just from the regular water. We're living off the grid, the rain, just living like a very blissful, utopic life that people dream about is out there, And
I mean, Hawaii still has its problems too, and they still carry that consciousness of picking the fruit unripe, and even some fruits are sprayed and genetically modified, like the papaya.
100%. Oh, dude, I saw papaya fields, for miles, that were all going to China and crazy stuff. Yeah, I know. It's definitely there too.
The place itself, if you get land there and you grow your own food in Hawaii, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's where I've tapped into, like, those little communities that you're talking about. I was actually been flying back and forth. Last time I was there, I was in Kona doing some earthships. I love the alternative housing, and just a place where it's acceptable, basically, is kind of rare these days. I think people are just living, the confinement of just the man or whatever, and something as freeing as the lifestyle in Hawaii is just beautiful. So, and for me, yes, I'm like you, it just comes down to just the quality of the fruit at the end of the day. My first job was picking peaches and plums when I was 14, and I just know a lot about fruit, and I've worked at big corporations for fruit and stuff. So I just understand how the whole system works when it comes to what you're saying with the green, unripe fruit that sits on some box and shipped and blah, and sprayed, even organic bananas and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get all negative. It's just, you don't have to ask those questions when you're on a farm, or when you're going to the market and you actually know the person by the name who's growing your food, and you see the smile on their face when you contribute to their family because you're giving them money, and they're like, wow, this just fed my kids. And this, that whole reciprocating energy thing is how, I think that's the human potential right there, how we're supposed to be.
Yeah, you got to communicate. Communication is vital. I mean, if you don't communicate, you're never going to learn, and you're never going to better, put yourself in areas to where you could, you can get the best for you. Because, I mean, if you're just stagnant and you're not asking questions and you're not investigating and doing the research, then don't expect you to get quality anything in life.
I agree 100%. All right. Well, I'm curious. I'm curious. I'm all about action too. So I'm just curious, your day. Can you just give us a little, what's your optimal day look like? Your current routine. I know you're on a different type of protocol currently, but I'm just saying, you got 24 hours in the day. Do you wake up and meditate? Do you wake up and grab a glass of water? What does it look like?
Well, first thing, what I do is I don't plan and do anything like that.
Okay.
First thing I do is I wake up, and, I go through, because, my job, I go through my DMs, I go through my emails, I look at, people send me questions all day long. So I've really been devoting my life to other people for 3 years straight.
I hear you, brother.
So I don't know. I just kind of I wake up, I do that. I'll do a consult with a client, or I'll do an iridology reading. Mm-hmm. And so I'll get that out of the way. After I get through my consults and my readings, what I usually do is I go down to the beach and I ground. I got to get outside. I got to get that natural breeze. Well, natural, but I got to get that breeze in me. The ions and the minerals coming from the ocean, and just it helps to relax me. That magnesium, it keeps me relaxed, because when I'm, up here, around all the, all that kind of energy, because I believe that energy is frequency. And if that energy is built on, subconscious negative stuff, then it's going to affect you. So energy affects you. So that's why I like to go down to the beach and just kind of decompress and just shut the mind off if I can. The mind never really shuts off, but I sit there and I just shut it off, and I go, I accept the now. I accept my current situation, and then I start manifesting. Usually I'll just, whatever that I'm envisioning of what I want to accomplish, and I'll start manifesting that, whatever that is. I'm not going to say it because it's personal, but I'll just start manifesting. And so I go through my manifestation as I'm grounded on the beach, and then after that, I just come home and I get back to work. I get back to helping my fellow reflections, my humans. I'm a humanitarian, so I'm always focused on how I could help, educate people on there is a solution to these issues. You don't have to think that you can't, heal your body and all that. Usually when I get on the phone, though, I try to go into spirituality when I'm talking with people to make them understand that you're not going to get rid of all your problems if you're just eating healthy food.
Yes.
So I usually go into the mindset, like, where's your mind at? What's your environment like? What's your relationships like? Do you know thyself? Are you looking into your astrology? Do you know who you are? Because if you don't know who you are, you're never going to be really intuitive and get more information to making better steps to better yourself. Because that's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to better ourselves in this world. We're trying to find peace and harmony and all that. So I usually will just stay on the phone for hours, just kind of talking with my clients and helping them to understand that, you might have to make some serious changes in your life. If you have a toxic job that's not suiting you, that's going to cause a lot of health issues. If your relationship isn't, if your spouse doesn't share your mind, that's a problem, because support isn't just contract. Support is, you guys are going to build each other up, and you guys are going to share the same morals and values, and you're going to, because that's what's going to bond you to feeling love. So usually I'll go into, because I consider myself a life coach primarily.
Totally. Yeah. I hear you.
So I'll have those conversations all day. So pretty much my whole day is just kind of around, spreading the good news, and then I'll get on the YouTube and I'll do some research and I'll see what other people are vibrating, and I learn from others as well. And that's pretty much my typical day here. My life's really simple right now.
No, I love that. I love that, man, because it's something, it sounds very natural, very organic. The process is beautiful. Yes, to me, I think that's, if I were to describe it, that's our highest path, is empathy and helping others. So we don't have to get into the details or words or Sanskrit or anything. I'm just saying that's, to me, where the human being is, because that's in the frontal cortex. That's the human, not the emotions in the back that we're all just caught up in, right? So it's like you're already doing it. You're already living it. And obviously you've tapped into your purpose. And to me, we both share that in common. Being iridology is kind of just, I look at it like, just sort of icebreaker. I just don't like the term life coach. I used that in the beginning when I got into this. I was the guy that was just like living off the grid and like didn't even have a cell phone until a few years ago. So I just started all my, channels and everything a few years ago. But I used the term life coach. I just didn't like it. So
let's call it a higher self coach.
Higher self coach, man. I like that a lot better. I really do. I really do, because I love iridologists. I love these terms. I think people get stuck in labels these days, and it's hard to.
You kind of have to label things
You do. It's something where I don't want to be confined, but at the same time, I want to reach as many people as possible. So it's an interesting challenge I have as a digital person now, not just a regular person. So it's been fun. I'm embracing it. It's just one of those things I'm sure you could relate on to as well. It's like the iridology is definitely a very good icebreaker, and to me, bringing the most clarity. But it's not the the whole thing, the whole shebang. There's like you mentioned, the relationships, business, stress. Oh my God, so many. If I were to tell you even one thing, the stress, man, that I'm learning about is my biggest impact for sure, that I'm not dealing with in the sense of a positive stress, right? Like I don't think people really comprehend that. They think stress can, for most people, can be like very negative, but you're not really factoring positive change, and positive stress in your life as well can be a factor. So, like I said, these subtleties are really where the magic is, in my opinion. Like these subtle energy vibrations that once they're addressed, it's like the glue into all these creases, and then you're good again, you know? So it's just beautiful hearing such an organic story from yourself, because people really can earn a lot like from these tools, you know, and it's something I think that just needs to be spread out there as much as possible right now.
Absolutely.
And okay, cool. So the only thing I also want to ask you is just in your routine there, you mentioned manifestation, and I'm just curious, any sort of, like, if you were to call it meditation or to give it a label, I'm just curious if you, for me, my background is with Paramahansa Yogananda, and I'm a certified Raja Yoga teacher. So I'm just curious if you have any, if you were to call it something, is it like a transcendental meditation, or is it something, or is it just kind of like you do your own thing and it's custom? I'm just curious if there's any sort of formality to it. That's all.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the beginning, it was really to build confidence. That was the beginning of where I got into manifestation, because my whole life I was always told I'm not good enough, or I have this and that's holding me back, and that you got to do this in order to achieve this, and I just felt overwhelmed, like, you know, I can't really achieve anything because I'm not smart in this area, or whatever the situation was.
Yep.
So when I started watching these people like that were very positive and very influential in the sense to where they were actually practically living out their confidence. And so, you know, originally I looked at that like that's kind of egotistical, right? You know, to say good things about yourself and to own it and to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And but when I broke that wall and I started to understand, well, wait a minute here, who are we? We're not a physical body.
Mm-hmm.
And we obviously, you know, we have all these, you know, these chemicals in our body like dimethyltryptamine that helps us to channel our spiritual access to things that we can never imagine in our dream state or whatever. And so I just was starting to think, well, we're pretty much God. You know, we're God.
Yeah.
You know, like if all these people are able to do all these great things, there's got to be a foundation to how they were able to do that. And so for me, it was just convincing that you create your own reality through your thought pattern. And if you keep saying negative things in your thought pattern, then you're going to attract those negative things.
100%.
So for me, I needed to build confidence in order to get to where I'm at today. So in the beginning, it was always like, I am going to be this person, or I'm going to achieve this. I can, I will. There is no excuses. Just trying to rewash and program and re-brainwash myself into those positive thought patterns.
Yes.
And so it just became this repetitious thing, into where I was like, wow, all these things are actually happening.
Yep.
Like I don't have to work for the man anymore, if you call it that, or I don't have to feel like I need somebody to feel content and at peace within myself. Like I don't need to give my power away to somebody in order to feel complete. I don't need the lights on, the TV on, the constant communication with people to feel at home.
Yep.
And so that was something that I manifested. I want to learn to be content and in harmony within myself, to truly love myself, to where I no longer need, in the sense to where it's an emotional attachment. Like having relationships are good, you know, having certain needs are good, but when it becomes an anxiety, when it becomes this unbalanced expectation you're trying to achieve, then it becomes an issue. So like something that I've been manifesting lately has been more of, I envision a community, a soul tribe community.
Yes.
In nature, where we're no longer, dependent on the grid, on the money supply, and on the food supply. And we could be in harmony with nature in our natural environment, where we can grow fruit trees and vegetables or whatever, and herbs and stuff like that. And we could all just, be a collective, one mind people. I believe that there are groups of people out there that are specifically assigned to you
Oh yeah.
That they share your mind. They truly love you. They truly support you. They have the same visions as you. That conviction is it's unified. And so I believe that family is frequency. I believe that, it's frequency. Like it's those that are like you in the sense. And so I envision a real family, not a programmed family, but a real family of humans that really love each other, that really they're just using their gifts, and we're just free in nature, not needing anything. That's going to take time, of course. That's going to take a lot of work, and I don't think it'll be fully achieved because of the powers that control this planet. To where can you actually really depend on land without the government's hand on it?
Yeah, totally.
But we could do our best, and so that's why I think that we can do that.
I believe in that same vision. I think we're both tapped into that same vision. It doesn't have to be the exact detail, but I think what you're talking about is not. We're one of many that are part of it, and that's what I meant by like the new paradigm of health. Because the stories that we've been talking about, it's beyond health, but you have to. For me, that's why I wanted to talk about health and create the infinite cup, because the physical body has to handle the energy first before you're aligned to your higher purpose and everything, and to your guides and your higher self that you're talking about. You've been through that transition. You can't go back. It's like the Matrix, the red pill, blue pill. You're good now. It's what I call just being tapped in. You get it. You just get it. That's something you can't explain. That's something you have to experience. And again, there is a prerequisite, meaning the body just simply needs to be. It has to have minerals. Your pancreas can't produce minerals. It needs to come from an outside source. Like we're just living this toxic world, and people need to get the temple cleaned up first, and then we can start talking about these other things. So it's just amazing that, yes, I am 100% with you on that vision. There are people that I've tapped into that are living that right now, and I had to kind of go there and then check out because I felt like it wasn't enough. You know what I mean? Like we need more people, basically. So it's one of those things where there's people I know of a community in Oregon, Hawaii, and there's other little communities all over that are doing that exact same thing, and it's beautiful. For me to see it on a small scale was amazing, but we're here for that bigger picture, that thing that is like really changing lives. And the clarity for your healing yourself is step one, in my opinion. Just really having that confidence, and then boom, because we all have that like gift, that purpose, that life purpose, and once that is really activated, you just can't stop. And it's definitely not the clerk position or whatever you have. It's like there's people that are like constantly having that in their mind's eye.
I did have the clerk position, by the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah, me too, man. I mean, I got it right now. Actually, it's one of those things where we're all doing. Like I go through these. I call them just waves. And it's basically what it is. It's between the dance between the head and the heart, right? Because the heart goes like, oh, I want a retreat center, and then the head goes, oh, you can't afford it. You can't do that. And then the heart goes, but oh, I just want to have fruit, bro. I just want to like grow fruit trees and have fun. And the head's like, well, wait a minute, you got to pay the bills and you got to do it. You know what I mean? Like that dance between the head and the heart is constantly going through people. And my solution is to just listen to the heart, really, if to keep it simple. I think right now, to simplify it in a more simple view, it's like we're here for the path of the heart, the path of unconditional love, not the programmed conditional love that we all kind of got. You know what I mean? Yeah, so
there's so much more.
There's so much more, man. And we've it's infinite. If you ask me, it's something that you can't comprehend. It transcends our limitations. So yeah.
And if enough people wake up and really experience that, we could create that reality. I really believe.
Not a doubt in my mind. And I'm like you. To me, the fight is in the forefront with the fruit. That's why I did, so much work on farms, and I got a job at Whole Foods, and learning things. I'm learning the industry, from the inside out to really figure out what's going on here. And what I've learned is just mind-boggling, man. Like how much we are seriously beyond dependent on even other countries and other things. It's just mind blowing to me. So the fight very much is, in the food first. And then once we got that, you know what I mean? You
know how much fruit I throw away because of this?
Dude, I hear you, brother. Yeah.
I won't put it in my body. I mean, if I smell gas and sulfates and I don't put that stuff in my body.
I hear you, man.
So sometimes I can't even eat the fruit. It's like
Yeah.
I'll juice or I'll have a salad or something. But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel my best on the fruit, and that's why, as a fruitarian, I truly believe you want to go to the tropics. You don't want to try to live off this mainland stuff.
I'm right there with you, man. I don't eat papayas unless I'm in Hawaii. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I'm trying. I've wasted so much money, and it's I'm sorry, but I can't do it. You know, it's just one of those things where I just believe in the power of the environment, and I would rather get a plane ticket, fly to Hawaii, and live there and eat papayas every single day than waste my money here in California or anywhere else. You know, and that's, for me, that's why I flew to Asia to eat durian. You know what I mean? And flew to, like, I just love, like, that's for me why I love traveling too. It's a big part of it, right? It's going to the source and eating this ancient food that is literally prehistoric activates our human temple that no other thing, you know, can do, in my opinion.
And I feel like I'm supporting the problem the more I give my money to these people, even though, you know, we've got to start somewhere. You give your money to fruits and vegetables, even if they're in the grocery store.
Yeah.
But when you get to these levels of starting to become more aware of stuff, it's like you don't even want to give your money to that system, because you know that it's just growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. It's something that it's
I lost you for a minute.
Oh, it's all good. Oh,
You're back. You're back.
Confidence and the energy that you get from it, you just can't go back. So it's like, why would I eat that papaya in California when I know I'm subjecting myself to a lower frequency? You know what I mean? Like, it's just something like yourself. I'd rather go have the salad because I know the salad was grown right here, the romaine, and it's just legit, you know? So it's just one of those things where I understand all that. And no, I don't eat citrus in the summer and all that. I eat it in the wintertime when they're grown right here in California for a very specific reason. And that's where it's not about defending anything. You know, I have nothing to defend. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, my own experience and confidence and clarity that I have in my body is what keeps me on the path there.
Amen, brother. Namaste. I totally agree.
Yeah. So how can people find you? Don't want to take any more of your time. This has been awesome, man. I appreciate you being here. And how can people find you at the Mangotarian? I know you're posting videos and keeping the light shining. So how can we send some people your direction?
So I have a little Facebook website called Detoxification the Mangotarian Way.
Cool.
So you can go to that, and that'll show my services, my daily articles. You can find me on Instagram, The Mangotarian, YouTube, The Mangotarian. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. Perfect, man. Well, we'll send your people your way. Like, I know I just believe in energy and magnetism, like you're saying, and we've talked about that in this, podcast. And it's one of those things where I just believe in that, and us just talking about these things. I know the energy is going out there and people are going to hear it, and it's going to get reciprocated. Like, it's just 100%, not a doubt in my mind. So the more we just talk about it and be that change, the more we're going to see it out there in the world. So just thank you. Just wanted to say thank you for, what you do on the daily. Seriously.
Oh, I'm grateful, brother. And I'm thankful for you too, that you invited me on here. And I just want to say that, love and truth will not come back void anyway. So, we have to give it out to the universe in order for it to create the change too. So that's why I highly encourage everybody to use social media as a platform for information, because we're in the age of Aquarius. So we don't want to run away from it because there's too much negativity going on, but we want to use it for positivity.
Yeah, I agree. Use it for a vehicle for transformation and growth, because I was right there with you, living under a rock, man, terrified of technology and chemtrails and all these things. And I was so just living in fear, and that's not the solution. Living in anger and repressing energy, and that's not the solution. So I remember the conversation like it happened yesterday, but it's just, I literally had to write down and face them. I still, I'm camera shy and I have all these things I'm confronting, but it's like, you got to do this. Like, we got to be that change. So I'm not going to let those neurotic tendencies that I have, keep me from expanding the light and showing people our true experience with health. Because my life's been changed radically. I know yours has. So it's like, this is available to everybody, and it's so simple. It's just so simple.
Yeah, bro. And I got a label for you. You are the best podcaster on the planet. You got to just keep saying it.
Yeah.
It may sound crazy to say that, but if you keep saying it, at least it'll build the confidence to where you'll keep doing it.
I agree 100%. All right. Well, we're going to check out right now. Thank you for being here, brother. Much love.
Yeah, bro. Aloha. Namaste.